Scroll through travel feeds long enough, and you'll see a pitch like this. Book a flight to China, and you can photograph cyberpunk megacities, ancient imperial palaces, and alien mountain ranges, all in one trip. But then you actually sit down to plan, with one standard week of paid time off, and you're trying to figure out how to cram thousands of years of history and millions of square miles of terrain into exactly 7 days. China operates on a continental scale. To navigate it successfully, you must approach the planning like a multinational tour across Europe, rather than a single country stop. Look at this map overlaying China onto Western Europe. Plotting the distance between Beijing and Shanghai, the physical spread becomes obvious. Traveling between these two hubs is the physical equivalent of dragging your suitcase from London down to Rome. Misjudge that physical distance, and you end up burning up to 40% of your hard-earned vacation time staring at the inside of train stations and airport departure gates. Navigating domestic transit infrastructure here involves massive crowds, tight schedules, and serious logistical friction. To avoid burning out on your own vacation, you need to abandon the idea that you can see it all. Success requires strict curation based exactly on how many days you actually have on the ground. The default itinerary pushed on almost every first-time traveler is known as the Golden Route. It targets the 3 most famous hubs, Beijing, Xi'an, and Shanghai. This map shows the specific triangular routing. You start north at Beijing, jump inland to Xi'an, then transit back to the eastern coast at Shanghai. These mandatory connections demand an absolute minimum commitment of 7 to 10 days. The payoff for that effort is enormous. At your starting point in Beijing, you get the overwhelming scale of the imperial center, with the architecture of the Forbidden City literally stretching to the horizon. At the midpoint in Xi'an, you dive deep into ancient history, standing before thousands of individually carved terracotta warriors, a sight of massive proportions. And at the terminus, you arrive in a hyper-modern financial hub, defined by the towering, neon-lit skyscrapers of the Shanghai skyline. But getting between these distinct worlds requires logging serious hours locked into the national high-speed rail network. The Golden Route delivers a highly efficient macro view of Chinese civilization, but because it relies so heavily on urban transit corridors, you have to accept a major trade-off. You will almost completely bypass the country's world-class natural landscapes. That brings us to travelers with a different priority, the niche seekers whose main goal is capturing extreme, viral natural aesthetics. They are looking for environments like this, the towering, vertical stone pillars of Zhangjiajie National Park. But accessing these remote topographical anomalies introduces the nature paradox. You deal with severe logistical friction, navigating secondary airports, long bus rides, and localized transit networks far away from the main bullet train lines. Scoring the golden route against a nature deep dive based on transit friction and payoff, the math is clear. You cannot squeeze a mountain expedition into a 7-day historical trip. To drop transit friction to zero, choose the megacity weekender. The parameters are rigid. You confine your entire 5 to 7 day trip strictly within the borders of a single massive urban center like Beijing. By eliminating long-haul domestic flights and train rides, you recover days of usable time, allowing deep cultural immersion without the exhaustion of constant movement. Even within these strict city limits, the scale remains imperial. From Beijing, you can still access world wonders like the Great Wall winding across the surrounding ridges on a single-day trip. The trade-off is absolute. Maximizing your time in extreme nature requires sacrificing imperial history, and locking into a single megacity means giving up continental diversity. Avoiding the exhaustion of the continental trap requires matching your itinerary strictly to the days you have on the ground and your specific visual goals. The choice begins with one primary constraint. Do you have less than 7 days or more than 10? If you are time poor with under a week on the ground, the logic leads here. You must default entirely to a single megacity focus to avoid spending half your trip in transit. With more than 10 days, the options expand. Here, you divide your itinerary based on your primary visual priority, history versus nature. From there, the path is clear. Visual optimizers prioritizing landscapes must lock into a Zhangjiajie deep dive, while first-timers seeking civilization scale must accept the high transit friction and commit fully to the Golden Route. You cannot conquer the immense physical distance of this region. You can only strategically navigate it. China's continental scale is its greatest asset, but poor planning turns it into a logistical trap. Mastering a trip here requires aggressively choosing your focus and making peace with exactly what you have to leave behind.